Chase Burns entered the transfer portal. We talked about it yesterday, but it wasn't official. It's official now, but Jaru, it does seem inevitable. My question is, do you think it's smart for Chase Burns to do this?
Like you said, I think it was inevitable. I don't think anybody was really doubting if Chase Burns was going to stay around or go in the transfer portal. But from my standpoint, I don't really see the point of leaving at this point. He was disgruntled about moving to the bullpen, and I understand that. But he was successful out of the bullpen. Before he moved to a reliever role for Tony Vitello in Tennessee, his ERA was over 11 after 4 starts. So he wasn't having success on the mound. I guess you see it a lot of times, too, in college athletes. I would call it maybe a sophomore slump that he just didn't have it at the beginning of the season. But I find it hard to believe Tony Vitello didn't talk to Chase Burns and let him know that he was probably going to be a starter next year. Because you think about it, you lose Andrew Lindsey, who turned into Tennessee's Friday night starter. Chase Dolander's going to the draft, who turned into Tennessee's Saturday starter. So you're left with Drew Beam and Chase Burns as really your 2 real starter mold type guys. And I assumed before it came out that Burns was transferring that Beam would slide into the Saturday role and Burns would be your Friday night starter like he was his freshman year again. So I'm not really sure what difference it makes if he goes to a different school, because he wasn't having success as a starter at the beginning of the season. And everywhere no matter what school he goes to, the mound's 60 foot 6 inches, and he's still throwing to, you're going to assume, SEC guys. So I don't see the logic, but I assume it was probably a decision between him and his family and what they thought was best.
Yeah, it's funny. Just yesterday, it sounds like Tony Vitello told John, or this morning maybe, told John Wilkerson on 99.1 The Sports Animal that his exact quote was, "We've kind of known that he would be gone for a while." So I guess going forward with this is, look, Tennessee's going to be fine. You talked about it. We talked about it yesterday. They're recruiting really, really well in baseball right now. I think this is if one side hurts from this, I think it's Chase Burns. I think he loses more transferring from Tennessee than Tennessee loses in Chase Burns leaving. And I'm not trying to say that to take a shot at him at all. I want to know what you think.
No, I agree, because he would have been the gem of this staff next season. Like, he would have, whenever you talked about Tennessee, like the same way people talked about Tennessee this year, you talked about Chase Dolander, because that's just, he was the ace. When going into next season, it would be Tennessee baseball, and then the next sentence would be Chase Burns, just because he was going to be the gem of this staff. But like you said, I feel like Tennessee and Tony Vitello are probably going to find arms, whether it be from the transfer portal, they get freshmen in. The only difference now is there's a little more pressure for Tony Vitello to land some of those guys out of the transfer portal. We already saw they got Jacksonville State's Friday night starter, A.J. Causey. He's more of a submarine type guy that I could see out of the bullpen. So next season, they're still probably looking for that second or third starter. You assume Drew Beam will stay in the starting rotation, and then you probably have an A.J. Russell type who will come out of the bullpen and take on a starter role. For Burns, I know he wants to be a starter, and it's not common you see closers with 4 pitches in college baseball or in Major League Baseball come out of the bullpen. So I get that. I just don't see – I know that Tennessee was trying to recruit him to stay. So I find it hard to believe that Tennessee would have told him he wasn't going to try to start next season.
Yep, Travis brings up Chase Burns coming out of the bullpen was genius. I agree. Billy Bob Cooter jumps in. Billy Bob says, unfortunately, NIL has UT as well, has hit UT as well. Kids leaving for more money. I'm gonna disagree a little bit. I don't know if NIL had a role in this. Do you, Jaru? I think it was what you said. I think he was upset about not being moved to the bullpen, and to quote Michael Jordan, I think he took it personally and decided to bail.
Yeah, I think NIL will determine his landing destination, but I don't think NIL made a difference for him entering the portal. Because like we talked about, I think he was angry after moving to the bullpen. He wants to be a starter. He told us after the final game in Omaha that he wants to be a starter. So I assume he's going to transfer somewhere where he will be a starter. I mean, like you said, Tony Vitello told John Wilkerson this morning on the radio that it was pretty straightforward and that they'd known he would be gone for a while. So, I mean, it doesn't seem to be like they were offering him money or any rumors like that. It just seems to be he wants to be a starter, and he was mad when he got moved to the bullpen at Tennessee. So I think NIL might determine his landing destination, but I don't see a lot of these kids jumping into the portal because they're not making money at Tennessee.
Right. And it's kind of weird that to feel this type of way. any sport is performance-based, and it was pretty obvious Chase Burns was better from the bullpen than he was as a starter this year. Like, there was really no question about that whatsoever. So it's a little weird that he would feel a certain way, particularly just as a sophomore when he was going to move back into the rotation as a starter probably next year, as you bring up. Now, as far as team chemistry goes, we talk about this. We talked about it with football yesterday. It does seem like there's a chemistry factor in baseball, though, even though it's the most individual team sport there is, where it's a team sport. You, more than any other sport, you need help. Less than it, one person can't do it on their own more than any other sport. But it's also the one sport where you just have to care about your job and not worry about what else everybody else is doing. So it's the most individual team sport. But chemistry does seem to be a factor when it comes to the luck and the way the ball bounces and the red hotness of the College World Series. So Chase Burns being gone with two other starters gone, as you mentioned, even if they do replace him in the transfer portal, is that going to be an issue?
I don't believe it'll be an issue with Frank Anderson coaching the team, because you do have that continuity, and you'll have Drew Beam still, who can kind of take on and be the ace of the role. And you have a ton of bullpen guys as well who will stick around. So like I said, A.J. Russell is definitely a candidate to take over a starter's role. He's somebody who gave them distance out of the bullpen and showed a lot of potential as a freshman, and he was talked highly of. So, and you want to talk about team chemistry in baseball, you can just look at Tennessee's team. I mean, it took them until halfway through the SEC slate to get their stuff together and go from 5-10 to, a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So with a lot of transfers this season, you did see that team chemistry kind of play a role. Chase Burns will hurt them on the field, obviously, yes, because you're losing a guy who could run triple digits and threw 4 pitches. But I don't see it being as much as a team chemistry thing, as you say, just with the continuity of the coaching staff. And you still have guys like Drew Beam who can kind of keep the system in place that produced Chase Dolander, guys like Chase Burns, stuff like that. So I do see what you're saying. I just don't. And realistically, if Chase Burns had one foot out the door after he went to the bullpen, then how much chemistry was he contributing to in the locker room?
Yeah, you're right. He probably was feeling pretty down on himself, and that might have been infecting the locker room on its own. Which it's funny because we talked about the strength of the bullpen, but Chase Burns was a strength of the bullpen. I mean, I thought that if they could have gotten to that next weekend, that would have been an advantage, but the bats really weren't showing. Jaru, thanks a lot for doing this. I know you got a roll. We will have you back on Thursday. So, again, I really appreciate it. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, sir, Caleb. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one, Jaru. That is Caleb Jaru. We couldn't have him, unfortunately, for the whole show today. He has got to run and take care of a few other things. He does a lot of great work for us. We're going to take an early break, and then we're going to get back and talk a little bit about Tennessee football versus Georgia. Beforehand, portions of the program brought to you by Zen Sports. Zen Sports is the new sportsbook in Tennessee, revolutionizing the way you earn sports betting rewards. That means no more deposit bonuses that turn into deposit nightmares. On Zen Sports, what you see is what you get. And with their cash rewards program, you get a lot of cash. For a welcome bonus, earn an unlimited 5% cash back on your betting volume for your first 15 days when you sign up with the code HOOKED. That's HOOKED, HOOKED. That's right, unlimited 5% cash back. Keep betting and keep earning with up to 3% cash back on your betting volume every month after that. And refer friends to earn a percentage of their betting volume as cash rewards too. Zen Sports is bringing the cash back to Tennessee. So if you bet big on sports, you want to be betting on Zen Sports. Zen Sports betting just got better.